So we're seeing more of the Disney Plus lineup, and it looks like a lot of recent Marvel comics. Well, some people are complaining, but what do we expect? Let's talk about that. Hey there, this is Perch. Disney Plus, which looks like a good deal. I mean, no matter how you look at it, $6.99 a month is a fairly low price point considering all of the content you're going to get. If you have kids, that's just a somewhat of a no brainer. I mean, Disney's making it so that it's very hard to resist that streaming service. You got Star Wars, you got Marvel, you got ESPN, you got Hulu, you got National Geographic, you got Pixar content, all the movies. So it's just, I mean, it's cheap for what you're getting. Now, what's interesting about this, well, I mean, put it this way, if you're a wrestling fan, you've been paying, I think more for the WWE's library than you're basically getting for all of Disney's library and all the rest. I mean, that's a pretty crazy amount of content. And again, if you got kids, it's going to happen. I do wonder if Disney's going to jack the price up in a year because I think they're just going to capture a huge market share, and their goal as a company is really to make back very, very rapidly their investment, which is going to take 2 to 3 years anyway to build out this service. So it's hard to say. The amount of new properties that are being plugged away on it are pretty significant. So where do we go from there? Well, so the Disney Plus announces that there's at least a America Chavez series in development, and that's fine. I don't think Disney was quite aware of the not the controversy, but the background around America Chavez. They posted a number of tweets announcing this on whatever the date was, late at night, and they had deleted half of them within a couple hours as they got kind of swarmed with pretty negative comments, but not the normal kind of negative comments, but the wrong kind of negative comments, let's say. So for them, so one of the things that I think Disney's looking at is like, hey, here's a young female Latina superhero who is, at least bisexual, lesbian. I mean, if you read comics, it's bisexual. I think a lot of people are claiming her as a pure lesbian character, but we have stories where she at least dated. So maybe it was bisexual moving to lesbian. I mean, that doesn't really matter, I suppose. But the key, the key in all this is that um, she's not actually a Latina character. She's actually a space alien who says she identifies as Latina. And unfortunately, that whole sentence I just said is poison for a lot of characters. Well, it's poison for anyone. I mean, since we had the Rachel Drosnell, I believe, said she, a white woman who said she identifies as African American, and rightly so. People just piled on that, saying you can't identify as another race and kind of co-opt their that culture and and that race. You can't do that. And she got hammered because, I mean, if you're a Anglo-white person, adopting another race is going to be super, super dodgy. But it's going to be dodgy for anyone. I mean, I think most people, if you're African American identifying as white, I think most people would just find that ridiculous. But certain races just can't identify as other races. So I think that's a problem, and I think Disney wasn't necessarily aware of that when they greenlit the series. I'm 100% positive that the pitch that was done for the series is like, hey, we got this, super powerful Latina characters, young female, been in, a number of comics, and kind of really speaks to the new generation along the lines of, Kate Bishop and some of these other characters. And I'm sure that was like, oh yeah, of course, our demographic that we're really trying to aim for is kind of the teen people coming into comics market. So, hey, female, Latina, super strong, relatively new character, not a lot of backstory and mess to kind of move through. Great, sign us up. And I don't think that anyone really paid a lot of close attention to the comics, which, to use the phrase, have been quote unquote problematic in the sense that her solo series had a lot of very odd things in it. both in kind of phrasing and in Archer's voices in my head whenever I say that, um, in how that character was debuted and written and everything else. So I suspect that there are some conversations going on around Disney right now around, hey, maybe let's slow roll this one here in terms of getting this out to pilot, because it's one thing to say we want to feature, this character. It's another thing to have a bunch of elements that are actually going to create some controversy. Disney does not want headlines for a Disney Plus series saying, character co-ops, Latino heritage in cultural appropriation. They do not want to have that story. They don't want to have the storyline of Disney thinks Latin America is just something anybody can adopt. Particularly when Disney parks owes a lot of their business to Latin America, Brazil, places like that that have huge groups of visitors to the park, particularly Disney World. So they don't want to have this kind of storyline out there about this character. And then there's the whole additional complexity about whether she's bisexual or she's lesbian or what is she exactly. And then, if people are going to the comics, and most won't, but if people do and they see this America Chavez series, it was really strangely done. Just there's no other way to put it. It had a lot of very odd moments. Even if you're a fan of the title, several fans of the book have said, one of the reasons they liked it is because it had kind of almost a David Lynch, Legion kind of quality to it that was a little bit odd, and that's not great. So one of the reason why Disney are greenlighting some of these new characters is precisely because they're a bit of a blank slate. They have a clean history. They're not bogged down by a lot of continuity. They can do these kinds of stories and not have to worry too much about complexity. And that makes sense, by the way. And that's why you see a lot of these younger, newer characters moving to Disney Plus faster. And I get it. For longtime comic fans, this is pretty disappointing. You've been following these characters for a long time, and you really are excited about kind of who they are and what they can bring. And then, suddenly we discover, okay, now finally we have them coming to the big screen. We have cartoons, we have live action things being made, and it's not the characters we grew up with. It's not the characters we've known for a long time. It's these newer characters that haven't really caught on yet, and in many cases are not well liked. And so that's frustrating. I mean, everybody hopefully can understand that. I always get frustrated at the people who are like, I don't know why people are complaining about this. All the man babies and the dude bros who don't like female characters. It's like, I'm sure there are certainly, like I said before, there are bad people on all sides, no doubt about it. But is it really necessary to immediately jump to, oh, this must be a sexism, dude, bro, man, baby thing? Or is it simply, hey, there's some people who have been reading comics for 20 years, have a lot of characters they like, male and female, and they they want those characters to show up. They're disappointed that these newer characters are kind of jumping the line to get films first. Now, that's reality. Like I said, it's normal for a business to want to take on characters that are more of a clean slate. It's totally normal. That is to be expected. That's not wrong. But at the same time, it's also normal for fans to feel upset that the characters that they've known for 20 years aren't being represented there. And I think there was a lot of expectations too when the Fox deal was done. It's like, okay, we're going to get our Fantastic Four, and we're going to get our Silver Surfer, and we're going to get our X-Men, and we're going to get all those characters to play with as well. So I would ask for just a little bit of compassion or sympathy or understanding from these people who immediately want to jump to sexism. Let's get them in. It's not about that. In most cases, it's absolutely not about that. It's simply, they have their own characters to see. I believe people when they say, hey, what about the Wasp? What about Jean Grey? What about Rachel Summers? What about Monica Rambeau? What about all these characters? We like those too. When people are complaining about She-Hulk, and it's like, I hope they use the classic She-Hulk and not the roided out monster She-Hulk. That's not a attack on feminism. It's actually somebody saying, hey, I would like the character I knew from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, most of the teens, for 40 plus years. I'd like to see those stories represented as opposed to, hey, let's just jump to the thing that happened 2 years ago and just do that. I think that's a normal reaction. It's a very normal reaction. So, we are getting these newer characters in Disney Plus. Like I said, it's understandable why this is happening. I don't think any of this stuff is mysterious or confusing or weird why Disney is doing this. I don't think it's a trick to secret communism, socialist trick to destroy all of comics. It's just they're going with the easiest thing they can go with to get these series up and running fast. And on the other hand, too, I think it's a normal reaction for people to be upset about some of that. It's not, everybody is acting in a normal way. As for America Chavez, I think the series is going to get slow rolled a bit. I'd be surprised if they shoot it out. If they do, I would strongly, strongly believe we're going to get a comic written by Kelly Thompson, of course, out that will feature America Chavez and kind of redo her origin, kind of erase a lot of the Gabby Rivera stuff, and just try and streamline it again so that it's not so weird and off putting for people who are coming into this character fresh. Anyway, that's what I think. What do you think? Leave me a comment below. Love to hear what you think. Like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. Follow me on Twitter at Comic Perch, and thank you for listening.